I recently purchased some new wrenches and tested them on this 19 millimeter bolt I had lying around. And I noticed they were pretty snug fit. And someone pointed out to me that they're basically designed different. They have pointed tips rather than flat tops on the 12 points, which snugs on the bolt tighter. So I got to thinking about it and decided to basically glue a zip tie onto this 19 or 3/4 inch bolt and grab all my 19 millimeter box end wrenches and 3/4 inch box end wrenches and test the quote unquote snugness of the fit on this bolt. Some of the crazy glue I used did drip onto the surface of the bolt. I tried to clean it up, but so this is not the most scientific test. I try to keep the position of the box end in the same spot and measure on a ruler from a certain distance away the amount of play in there. So these U.S. General silicone trays got this ruler built in. So that's what I'm basically doing. I'm just going through all of my 19 millimeter and 3/4 inch wrenches and just testing the box end. So it's interesting. I'm not sure if this is even a valid test or whether this even matters, but for me, just to get familiar with my tools, I feel like this will help me decide which wrench to grab in certain scenarios. And this is the Asahi wrench I just bought that has by far the tightest fit. So after taking a bunch of measurements and convincing myself that the measurements are repeatable and valid, I've determined based on this ruler has only got 1/8 inch measurements on it. So while I'm measuring to the closest 16th, just eyeballing in between the tick marks, I'm going to say the measurement tolerance or error is approximately 32nd of an inch. I could repeat the measurements over and over, but when adding them up and comparing, I'm going to say that it's only accurate to 1/32nd, and it's probably more realistically like a 16th of an inch if it was like a serious measurement. But this isn't serious. This is just testing my wrenches. No big deal. So it definitely helped me just basically understand what I have as far as all my various wrenches. Which one's snug on bolts the best. I'm not going to not use certain wrenches because they didn't snug tight. I am simply just becoming more familiar with my tools. So after taking a bunch of measurements and convincing myself that it is repeatable and to about a 1/32nd tolerance, I decided to take a measurement of both sides of the wrench. So I went and did them all and then decided on a method and came back and did them all again. And then ranked them based on snugness, averaging both sides of the box end. So the results are the following. Most snug by a significant margin is the Asahi, the new wrenches I purchased. Like I said, they have that triangle design where the 12 points come to pointed tips rather than flat plateaus like most other wrench designs. And I think all the wrenches that I'm comparing them to. Second place went to all the KTC wrenches, the offset double combination wrench, the regular wrench, and the extra long wrench. They all measured about the same. And then next was the Tekton and Snap-on stubby combination wrench I have. Tekton is also stubby, so I was pretty surprised how well the Tekton did. Next after that was the gear wrench, extra long wrench. I always thought that one didn't fit well, but compared to it measured better than most of my wrenches. Next we had the Craftsman 6-point 3/4 inch wrench and a Husky 3/4 inch wrench. If it's not specifically mentioned, it's all 12-point wrenches. The Craftsman is only 6.5. After that, the next Now we're getting towards the bottom of the list where these are the worst offenders. So the next was a SK 19 millimeter wrench. Next was the Snap-on dog bone little like comfort grip 12-point wrench, double combination. So I bought that one used on Craigslist. Still think it's a great wrench, but it did not measure very well in this test. It was a 19 millimeter, so should have fit snugger in my opinion, but I'm not gonna knock it. Maybe it's been used, maybe it just has a lower tolerance, I'm not sure, but no big deal. Still plan to use it. It's a stubby, so it's not gonna get much torque anyway. And then that was the worst actual 12-point combination wrench. Then the line wrenches came in. The Keycon actually measured tighter. My 19 millimeter generic Keycon line wrench measured next on the list, and then the worst of all of them was the Snap-on 3/4 inch line wrench. So again, I don't think this measurement really is going to dictate what wrench I grab. I already grabbed the Keycon line wrench because it clearly just has more meat around the part that grabs the bolt head. So, you know, if it fits, I'm going to keep using that, save my Snap-on for a tight fit because it just has less material around where the nut grabs the nut. So again, no big deal on this test. I was just curious more than anything. I'm not going to put a lot of stock into this list, but it is interesting to know which of my wrenches have the tighter tolerance as far as gripping nuts. And I'm not sure if this exact thing will carry out for different size wrenches. So I doubt I'll do it. This is pretty time consuming, but if I get bored, maybe I'll do another test on a 12 or 14 millimeter to see if it has the same exact results as this. But most likely, I'll just assume that it's pretty much the same. And when I go to grab a wrench, maybe I'll consider this. Maybe I won't. Still kind of considering if this was even a valid test and how tight a wrench actually grips a nut, you know, if that's the end all be all of a wrench. I mean, sometimes, you know, the nuts are rusted and maybe the wrenches are designed to have a little looser tolerance to grab those. So one thing I'm learning doing DIY is it's kind of nice to have a bunch of tools, even if they are repeats, because they all have their slight differences and they come in handy. So if you watch this far, it's not the most exciting video. It's basically me just testing my wrenches and convincing myself that, you know, and I should mention that my Snap-ons are old used wrenches. None of them are I don't think are flank drive. They're from the 80s. So, you know, I'm comparing new, cheaper wrenches to older, higher quality wrenches. And I'm finding that the new, cheaper wrenches may have a tighter fit, but, you know, probably not as strong. I don't do torque test channel type testing. It would be nice, but I'm definitely going to stay away from destructive testing and just do measurement type testing like this. Convince myself which tools I like, which tools I should buy going forward. And my conclusion on this is I definitely like the Japanese wrenches. I definitely like that they fit tighter. I'm going to reach for those, I think, 90% of the time. So rather than continue on and show the rest of the video, it's pretty tedious. I'm just going to end the video here. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Not sure how valid this test is. It just helped me learn about the different types of wrenches I have in my possession.